welcome to the Krusty Fox, and we're approaching the halfway point of Season 3 of Sex and the Shitty. This week we're looking at an episode entitled The Big Time. And as the detectives amongst you may well have worked out by now, this is the station the Carrie and Big Express train leaves from on its journey to Infidelitown. So, peer out the windows as we speed by sights like this.
Oh my god! Vagina waits!
This.
I'm mean mommy, and believe me, no one wants to mean mommy.
Oh, I believe you.
And this.
Uh-huh.
Did I tell you that I have an artificial hip?
No.
Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy your trip with us today, subscribe for more insane weekly excursions, and stay aboard until the very last stop for the top comment and question. We open on Carrie having her nails done while listening to the tale of love's young nightmare, Charlotte and Trey. Despite probably having had longer relationships with intestinal parasites than she has with him, their 2-week whirlwind has her convinced that he's the one. The revelation that Charlotte's also holding out on introducing Trey's hairy Houdini to her helmet hideaway leads to a conversation about when they each punched their V cards. Carrie sold the farm during 11th grade, with 3 pumps and a squirt atop a ping pong table, in one of the many occasions where there's a horrifying disconnect between the look on her face and the words coming out of her mouth. Having been unceremoniously turfed out of her previous apartment by the Biddy Brigade, Samantha is having a whale of a time in her fancy new meatpacking district apartment. That is, until lecherous neighbour Len makes an unwelcome appearance by the mailboxes. Len has a rat tail, an earring, and immediately announces that he collects art, and I don't know about you, but that description alone rendered me infertile. Len's clumsy, handsy, and obstructive come-ons do nothing for Sam but suggest that the building acts as some sort of halfway house, and that he's on several registers. An altogether different unwelcome intrusion is playing on her mind by the time she meets up with the other ladies for drinks, though. In the bundle of mail she resisted paper-cutting Len to death with, Samantha received a mail-order catalogue for women who feel the hot breath of the menopause on the backs of their necks. In the course of discussing the catalogue's contents, Charlotte admits that she doesn't know what a kegel is, and therefore we can assume has a pelvic floor like a dead coral reef. At a Japanese restaurant, a screaming crotch goblin at the next table prompts Steve to suggest to Miranda that they start a family. Miranda, who up until now has displayed the maternal instincts of a starving hamster, is about as up for it as you'd expect. For his part, Steve talks about becoming a father with the same ill-conceived excitement as someone with urgent diarrhea planning a trip to a haunted house. At a boat-based party for magazine Gab with Charlotte and Trey, Carrie literally bumps into living Easter Island statue Mr. Big at the buffet. Given the lustful thrust of his flirting, I'm shocked that he didn't just rent a billboard somewhere along the boat's route to really hammer home his renewed interest. Not quite ready to ruin her life yet, she makes her excuses and, given the boat's size, I guess hides in a smokestack for the rest of the trip to avoid him. The next day, in the bathroom after brunch, Miranda explains her theory that men are like cabs. Which they are. Unreliable, with an unknown number of miles on the clock, and reluctant to let you put anything in the trunk. After jealously watching Charlotte and Miranda borrow Carrie's tampons, Samantha blurts out that it's been 35 days since her last code red. She takes this as a sign that the great drought is coming, talking about it in terms of moisture like she's going to wake up one day with her crotch looking like an armadillo. It's thankfully Miranda's euphemism that plays on Carrie's mind when she comes to write her next column, wherein she wonders if successful relationships are more about fate than strategy.
Cancel!
Her summary of the issue winds up being, is timing everything? And what happened then? Well, in New York they say that Miranda's ovaries shrunk 3 sizes that day. This is largely due to Steve interrupting her home office time by loudly eating cereal and watching Scooby-Doo. Steve evidently doesn't know a quote from another movie, namely, if you have a baby, you won't be the baby. On this one, however, I'm Team Hobbs all the way. Steve's petty remarks about his abrupt need to procreate and refusal to talk about it like an adult make you wonder if he's wearing some Depends under his shorts just because he likes the trip down memory lane it gives him. All of this leaves Miranda wondering whether it's Steve that's the issue or her own self-sabotage. For once, Miranda, it's Steve. Trust me. That night, Samantha reluctantly accepts a date with Len as a peace offering to what she assumes is her waning fertility. Len appears to have turned up for the date in cosplay as Peter Stringfellow's less desirable brother. Goiter, swallow. Having entirely given up at this point, Sam goes back to Len's place and allows him to do his version of going to town on her, which looks a lot like someone trying to shunt a cabinet into a wall recess. Her body decides to do her a solid, or more accurately a liquid, when her red keep finally opens, bringing with it reassurance that she doesn't have to resign her pink lotus to a lifetime of Len's just yet. Elsewhere, Charlotte and Trey end a date with her still unwilling to seal the deal. In a sign that he already knows exactly who he's dealing with, he bets the house on a declaration of love. Grimly and predictably, this nets him a bout of hand-to-gland combat, probably soundtracked by a trademark Trey anecdote about lawn maintenance or something. At the same time as Charlotte's relationship is breaking new ground, Miranda's hits a water main. When buying a puppy barely holds them together for 12 hours, she realises that any child she has with Steve would have a better shot being raised in John Lennon's first marriage. Despite a desperate experiment by Steve to see if holding a dog in your arms might help prevent a breakup, they call it quits again. Back at Carrie's apartment, Aiden steps out to buy coffee filters and unknowingly passes Mr. Big in the hallway. Big, more than a little the worse for wear, makes it clear that he was hoping for a bit of extramarital organ playing. And declares that he can't stop thinking about her. After rightfully sending him packing, Carrie correctly calls out Big's appalling timing. Unfortunately, she uses the 10 minutes that Aiden's at the store to convince herself that there's no harm in at least considering another ride on Big's beluga whale head. Any normal person would have Miranda's words about self-sabotage ringing in their ears, but not Miss Bradshaw. And so the Infidela train approaches its final destination. But we'll get to that. For now, it's time for last video's top comment. I asked whether you prefer a partner that's available or one that plays a little hard to get. The resounding and unsurprising preference was for availability, as neatly summed up by Redneck Lover 22, who likes his men present and correct during his off time. And going by the username, at least a little tan around the collar. I know what it means, don't at me. This week's question is, how would you handle a declaration of love 2 weeks into a relationship? Or have you ever been the one doing the declaring, and if so, did it go as planned? Answers in the comments below please, and the best will stand under the bedroom window of next week's video with a boombox. Either way, thanks for watching, and remember, if you can't be good, be crusty.